Welcome everybody to the 2021 Media Arts Annual. Kudos to all of you for pushing through that pandemic wall and making amazing, triumphant works of art. I am truly blown away with what you all have created in the face of this historic adversity. Congratulations, everybody. This is really amazing. I would like to thank everyone who submitted, our wonderful studio managers, our staff, our faculty, and our jury for selecting and curating this fantastic program. I can't wait to work with all of you again soon in person. Please let this be the last Media Arts Annual that we hold remotely, right? Remember to stay tuned to the very end for the announcement of our special Jury Awards cash prizes for achievement in media arts. Everyone, enjoy the show.
1. Collect, hoard, save, catch, scoop. 2. Mirror, repeat, reflect, refract, shadow. 3. Slippery, misinterpret, fogged, waves, tide. 4. Submerged, unheard, flood, swallowed, distanced. 5. Dissolve, lose, wall, silenced, disappear.
not tell the player how to live. The player is growing restless. I will tell the player a story, but not the truth. No, a story that contains the truth safely, in a cage of words, not the naked truth that can burn over any distance. Give it a body again. Yes, player. Take a breath now. Take another. Feel air in your lungs. Let your limbs return. Yes, move your fingers. Have a body again, under gravity, in air. Respawn in the long dream. There you are. Your body touching the universe again at every point, as though you were separate things, as though we were separate things. Who are we? The words change. We do not change. We are the universe. We are everything you think isn't you. You are looking at us now through your skin and your eyes. And why does the universe touch your skin and throw light on you? To see you, player. To know you. And to be known. I shall tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a player. The atoms of the player were scattered in the grass, in the rivers, in the air, in the ground. A woman gathered the atoms. She drank and ate and inhaled, and the woman assembled the player in her body. And the player awoke from the warm, dark world of its mother's body into the long dream. And the player was a new story, never told before, written in letters of DNA. And the player was a new program, never run before, generated by a source code 1 billion years old. And the player was a new human, never alive before, made from nothing but milk and love. You are the player, the story, the program, the human, made from nothing but milk and love. You are alive. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the sunlight that came through the shuffling leaves of summer trees. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the light that fell from the crisp night sky of winter, where a fleck of light in the corner of the player's eye might be a star, 1,000,000 times as massive as the sun, boiling its planets to plasma in order to be visible for a moment to the player. Walking home at the far side of the universe, suddenly smelling food, almost at the familiar door, about to dream again. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the zeros and ones, through the electricity of the world, through the scrolling words on a screen at the end of a dream. And the universe said, "I love you." And the universe said, "You have played the game well." And the universe said, "Everything you need is within you." And the universe said, "You are stronger than you know." And the universe said, "You are the daylight." And the universe said, "You are the night." And the universe said, "The darkness you fight is within you." And the universe said, "The light you seek is within you." And the universe said, "You are not alone." And the universe said, "You are not separate from every other thing." And the universe said, "You are the universe tasting itself, talking to itself, reading its own code." And the universe said, "I love you, because you are love." And the game was over, and the player woke up from the dream. And the player began a new dream. And the player dreamed again, dreamed better. And the player was the universe. And the player was love. You are the player. Wake up.
It has been an interesting 2 months, and time is tumbling ever onward. The sky seems to agree. Tomorrow, there's snow expected. I wonder how the plants at home are doing. The first or second week here, my roommate and I watched a brand new leaf grow, but I have seen nothing since. Fair enough. Nothing wants to grow in the winter. The room looks cozy, yet it feels so dull. I don't think you can be cozy alone, and as much as I'd love to try, you can't cuddle plants. The rain has scared away the leaf blowers, thank goodness. Too much noise here. Not that home was ever quiet. People and dishes clattering, and French horn and piano all at once, and birds and dogs, and wind and cars, but not the door slamming, machine whirring, people chattering at 3 a.m. of now. Now it's all different. Constantly changing, never constant. Things to see and places to be, seasons changing, constant changing, fade away. Fresh air, changing colors, fade away.
Face coverings are required on MBTA vehicles and in stations.
Today the rain finally stopped. Though does it even matter when the sun sets before 5 o'clock? I think we're all going to have to try extra hard to find some light this winter. We have to channel our inner plant and stretch towards the window. Reach. See the squirrel with the piece of cake? A pink garage with 3 green doors? A very nice box with elephants on crosswalks? The Boston skyline, the rainbow stairs, lots and lots of elephants. Golden hour shining through the fall leaves. See the hopscotch and club advertisements, the dead leaves that smell like fall, the surprisingly good Honey Flax granola bar. Don't you see? I have found a room that gets direct sunlight, from the moment the sun rises to the moment it sets. I shall now live here, perched in my chair in the corner, watching people come and go, as the sunlight sparkles its way across the walls and floor.
think it's really easy to start to feel like you're spinning. But something I've learned from Scott is how to really look around and see the birds and be in the moment. He was telling me about listening to this song at the park the other day and feeling the lyrics sweep over him as he absorbed the world around him and breathed it in. We talked about how special those moments are when the music and your own solitude and the nature around you all sort of work together to create this huge moment, this like crystallized little memory, and how they're fleeting and surreal and perfect. And I decided I have to start writing more. I have to collect and remember them before I forget. I'm always torn between stepping on ice and hearing it creak, or leaving it so that I can watch the water run underneath its surface. It makes me think of this video on my phone. My storage is completely full, and I should delete this 5-minute long video, but I can't because my brother and I like to toss ice across frozen lakes and listen to the zinging sound it makes. So I have the video on my phone when I'm not near ice or my brother.
July 9th, 2020. My dear Laura, I was so pleased to get your long letter last Tuesday. It was such a nice surprise. I think it is such a shame that in these days of emails and messaging, letter writing is being lost. What will future historians do? I have got many family letters dating back to my grandfather's, Archie Bowie's time, which I greatly value, and they give such an insight into their thoughts and feelings of the time. I should be very pleased to help in any way I can with research into our family history and colonial aspects. My grandfather, William Mebbles, was the first of our family to work in the colonies. He, William, was one of 6 children. When he was in his teens, he was an assistant in the brewery. Unemployment was severe in Devon in the 1880s, so I guess he would have been delighted when he was offered the post as an overseer on the sugar estates of the Clinton Hogg family estates in British Guyana. He was on an estate named Nonpareil, spelling may be wrong, near Georgetown on the East Coast. He would have been about 18 or 20 when he went out. Grandfather married his boss's sister, Kate Garnett. After they were married in Georgetown Cathedral, he was then offered the opportunity to transfer to Mauritius, where the Hoggs also had sugar estates. They lived on an estate named Beau Séjour, where my father and his brothers were born. When my father left school, he took up an apprenticeship with an engineering firm in Leeds. He found he hated this, so my grandfather, who by that time was a director of the Anglo Ceylon and General Estates Company Ltd, said he could get him a planting job with the company in either Mauritius or Ceylon, but he advised Ceylon, as the social life was much better. So my father went out to Ceylon after a year at the Royal Agricultural College in Cirencester in 1924. With much love, from Grandpa. 23rd of September, 2020. My dear Laura, I'm sorry to see it has been so long since I received your long letter dated 27th of July. Before the Second World War, it was quite usual for people to go out into the Empire colonies and also to move between colonies. I should think that most families in England would have had a member in the colonies or knew of someone who had a colonial job. I'm sure that the sugar estates in British Guyana must have employed slave labour. However, after slavery was abolished in the British Empire in 1833, they would have been employed under some other arrangement, which perhaps would not have been very much better. Of course, nearly all nations employed slaves up to the mid-19th century, including African tribes and particularly the Arabs. Grandfather William was always trying to improve the social standing of the family and became a JP in British Guyana. so presumably had to administer the labour laws, which, even 60 years after abolition, may have been harsh. I sometimes wonder whether this may have been a factor in his choosing to move to Mauritius. The colonies attracted a lot of poorer people from the UK, especially Scots, because they could have a much better life in the colonies, and there were many opportunities for making money and escaping from the British class system, although the colonial class system could be just as bad. It seems fashionable these days, especially on TV, to decimate all aspects of British Empire and colonial history. But I believe that in many ways the empire did a lot of good, keeping to the peace, developing countries, and educating populations. And I do wonder how people would have fared without colonization. Were the Mughal emperors any better? If the Zulu had had power, would they have behaved any better than their Bantu neighbours? I think that many British colonies were quite well administered and certainly much better than many have been after independence. Look at Zimbabwe, the Sudan, and even South Africa. Lots of love from Grandpa.
Dear Grandpa, nice to hear from you. I won't lie, it can be pretty difficult to hear all that you have to say about our family and your views on the British Empire. I have now lived for a year on Tupi land in Brazil, for a year on Wampanoag land here in Boston, and for a couple of months on Tongva and Chumash land in California. I flew from Liverpool to Boston. I see my probably the most colonial route that ever existed. I know that you came out of that harbour many times on your way to Sri Lanka and to Australia. That it is the same language. I can't help but feeling like I'm perpetuating and repeating our family's history. I'm sure you probably don't see that as a bad thing, but I do. I know we have been brought up in different times and our beliefs are different, but I cannot succumb to yours. You give examples of countries which have not fared well after independence, but you don't admit that the seeds of most of what has happened lie in colonialism. You say that criticising the British Empire is a trend or a fad, but I have to tell you that it's not. People have finally been given platforms to speak about the enduring chaos of colonialism in a place that invades your sense of self and security. So you dismiss it as a fashion. I understand that. These are your childhood memories, the stories of your parents and your first job, how you met your wife even. I can't imagine what it is like to be told that every early memory that you hold dear is tainted with racism and pain. But what I do know is that for every youth having their world disassembled around them, there are 2, 3, 4 descendants of colonized people who might be able to begin breathing and living freely because of this criticism and education. It seems that your side of the story is sealed, but I'm determined not to continue that legacy. I know what side of the story I want to be on, because colonialism is going to be as much a story of my lifetime as it was of yours. And so, hopefully looking forward to seeing you at Christmas. I don't really know what will be possible, but yeah, I'm looking forward to being home. Lots of love from Laura.
Pew! Pew, pew! Pew, pew! I'm gonna take you down. Pew, pew!
Ahmed? Is that you?
Jake?
Shoot him now, or I'll shoot you!
What? No!
I said shoot him, or I'll shoot you!
Pew, pew!
Room 45 of the National Gallery holds the standard spread of 19th century artwork: a frightened horse, a still life with flowers, and Christ on the cross. You know, the works. I didn't notice these other paintings. One in particular demanded all of the attention: the execution of Lady Jane Grey by Paul de la Roche. The description reads, Lady Jane Grey reigned for just 9 days as Queen of England. Tried for treason, the 17-year-old Lady Jane was beheaded at Tower Hill on 12th of February 1554. De la Roche plays up the spectacle of the innocent young victim on the brink of martyrdom, compelling us to react to the scene before us. Forced to acknowledge what is about to happen, we must make a choice between looking and looking away. I hunkered down with my sketchbook to observe the reactions. There's a long bench in front of it, as if the seated are watching a movie, while most are there to rest their feet or check their phone, unbeknownst to the beheading about to take place behind them. I notice some continue to lean back and steal glimpses. Many enter the room. Most stop to stare. Others have giant cameras, like for wildlife photography. They snap pictures and keep going. Imagine a painting of a beheading amongst your family vacation photos. And then some walk past completely unfazed. This left me with many questions about why we empathize or why we don't. After all, De la Roche employed every tactic to appeal for reaction from us, his audience, life-size figures, theatrical drama, and the real-life story of a victim to power. Are these ploys and theatrics effectless to the real horrors of the world beyond an old painting? Maybe apathy is born out of empathy exhausted. For those who stopped to spend time with Jane Grey, were they thinking of someone, something? And you, viewer, why did you stay?
It's an interesting question, and honestly,
I don't know if I
can't ever say
have
that I've
stopped
ever
being
felt
homesick.
Like many times in my life, like I think a lot of people have.
There is no feeling of home and therefore no feeling of homesickness.
One of the very first times that I felt that way was
I think it's a feeling that maybe has
girl,
attached itself to how I not only remember what I guess would be considered my original home.
To
I worked a lot,
visit my extended family members.
My house and my get away from my family.
I, in high school, decided that home is where my heart is, and my heart is in my chest. So I carry home with me everywhere.
As I've moved around from place to place,
lots of times when I was little, probably like 12 times.
It's really rare that I actually meet anybody else who has only lived in one house their whole life.
Me and my family talk a lot. We've always had family dinners.
It felt like it was going to be unbearable.
I definitely find home in people.
And so I rely on communication with them to maintain pretty much my mental well-being at all times. I talk to my dad dozens of times a day.
Family was a constant source of stress growing up. Also, my parents are divorced, so home was always separated.
When I came to Boston,
I just remember being
independently
perplexed at the fact that we had to
but maybe
travel
has
I've probably been living in
an
the
expectation or
our loved one.
the same place the longest I ever lived anywhere. It's my 4th year living in my apartment in Brighton, here in Boston.
So obviously I feel a really
have
deep connection
zero
to
attachment to it
not only
whatsoever.
like my city and my neighborhood, but also like my home, the actual building, like the walls, every part of it.
I don't really get homesick for a specific place, and if I did, it would be for
I just felt like my
grandmother's house, but she sold that house.
Was
I kind of wish that I was
or how
back at home where everything was familiar instead of being in this new place with new people.
Content.
A safe place for me.
I have come home tattooed on my forearms, and it's in my dad's handwriting.
At the time, I was
because
just
he
so
is the sort of home
confused.
for me, and
you know,
It feels
kids
like
get
there are different
frustrated
parts of home that I miss.
being in a
So
car
whenever I came to
13
Boston last
hours.
year, it was my first time ever leaving home. It was my first time ever moving.
For like being in my bed and having my mom bring like soup and toast to me and just kind of help me feel better.
The feelings that you want to feel when you're homesick, you know, cozy and comfortable and safe, warm, and like you could just relax and melt into a chair that might be like super old and rickety for somebody else, but for you, it's that's your melting chair. You just melt into it, even though it like definitely is messing up your back and your posture.
23 long, okay?
Yeah, number 1.
And your last name?
Boucher, B-U-E-C.
Kenton?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect, Kenton. Are you guys done? Your ballot is double-sided. I'm sure you know the drill.
Last name? Boucher, B-U-E-C-H-E. You're all set, sir.
After high school, everybody went their separate ways. My friends and family spread out all over the US and beyond, and my high school sweetheart and I in different colleges in different states. It always feels strange telling strangers I have a boyfriend, mostly adults, especially in academia. I can feel their respect for me drop immediately, like when I told the dean that both my boyfriend and I are applying to art schools in London for study abroad. Immediately, that condescending roll your eyes type of look from an older adult who thinks they are so much more mature, that they know better, that young love is a fickle, fragile thing that breaks the second it is under any pressure. My best friends and I have known each other since middle school. Jessica now lives in an arboretum in the middle of nowhere, Michigan. And in the middle of this middle of nowhere campus, in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, is a barn that used to have cows, but doesn't have cows anymore. Except they do have one cow, they just don't know where it is. So she's surrounded by trees, cows, and corn. Or more accurately, trees, one cow, and corn. And of course, we make fun of her for this, even though there's nothing inherently wrong with living in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, on a middle of nowhere campus with Schrodinger's cow. We're just New Yorkers. The ironic thing is, I've been living in Jupiter Farms, Florida since the semester started. So now I'm the one with the trees and the corn, and I definitely live around more than one cow. It's a bit of a city mouse, country mouse situation. For one thing, the rats in New York City live in the subways. Here in Jupiter, they live in the trees. At night, if you don't leave the light on, there will be frogs all over the windows, the walls, the roof, and the ground, dragging and slamming their slimy soft bodies unbothered against rough brickwork and slick windows covered in pine tree pollen. They gross me out. Frogs are like the testicles of the amphibian world. They also get into the pool, where I find their dead bodies floating in the morning. And one time, a rat. I bought a bike last year for Boston and ended up mostly only using it in New York, when we got kicked out of the dorms. I was going to study abroad in London with my boyfriend the next year, but canceled it, not because of the pandemic. When I told the dean that I was going to postpone my study abroad plans, I remembered how she had given me that condescending look, so I told her I wouldn't be studying in London because a family member had gotten cancer, which was true, but that family member was the love of my life, diagnosed with bone cancer at age 19. With the pandemic, it meant that I could actually go home to New York and be there for him, but it also meant I couldn't be there for him. Every 3 days or so, biking to Cohen's Children's Hospital 10 minutes away, waiting outside for the 5 minutes that I could see him going in, and then 3 days later coming out. My dad and I put a net over the pond to protect the fish, because last year some otters came in and ate 5 of them in 3 days. And birds weren't supposed to be able to get in, but a family of ducks did, and 5 ducklings died from getting tangled in the net that was supposed to protect 5 fish, and I was able to save 3. It sounds like a question on a math test. Did I save more lives or end them? Were they just unlucky like the frogs and the rat were, where they jumped into the pool and found that they couldn't get out? My friends say it's no one's fault, and life just happens. And maybe it does, but sometimes it sure happens coincidentally.
Great work, everybody. Fantastic. Yes. Okay. We are now at the moment where I shall present the jury awards. We have 3 awards to give out for special achievement in media arts. These are $150 cash prizes. Cha-ching. So let's get to it in no particular order. A $150 cash prize goes to Habitual Transformation by Megan Lawler. Congratulations, Megan. All right. Our second $150 prize goes to Blaze by Aiden Chang. Congratulations, Aiden. And our third recipient of a $150 cash prize goes to Player by Laura Williams. Laura, fantastic. And as you know, we also have our final special $250 cash prize, which is the Edward Considy Media Arts Award. This prize goes to Sin Pelos en la Lengua by Jorge Gomez Gonzalez. Congratulations, Jorge. Very well deserved. So thanks again to everyone who submitted, those who were selected, and congratulations to our award winners. Enjoy your summers, everybody. Enjoy your in-person summers and stay safe, keep making, and we will see you all again under the same roof this fall. Good night, everybody.